Hello, and thank you for joining us for our presentation. On behalf of Dr. Nadolny, Mr. Chapman, and Mr. Allam, my name is Dr. Lauren Malone, and I will be taking you through our research in participatory gamification design. So I want to start off with a little bit on participatory design and why we chose it. Our goal was to introduce gamification software that could address a variety of both educational, instructional needs and motivational needs of students. And so participatory design allowed us the freedom and the flexibility to envision and execute this research project that included multiple stakeholders, multiple perspectives, and multiple end goals. The software that we used is called Delphinium. It is a Canvas extension that allows instructors or TAs to build a customized gamified dashboard for their individual courses. So briefly, I'm going to go over a few of the setups and tools that Delphinium includes. And when we talk about our educators later in the presentation, I will also show an example of what they use specifically. So we first have our course organizational tools. The one that gets used most often is the one in the upper left corner, which is the course content map. And so this is something that just basically gives the students a visualized look at their modules overall. And so as you can see, they have some different icons, different star counts on them. So you can lock and unlock the modules just the same as a regular Canvas, the regular Canvas setup. And also it shows when the module is complete. And the stars have to do with the completion overall. And so you get the check mark based on completing the assignment, whereas the stars have to do with how much you engage with the materials that are within the module itself. And the second example is more for cafeteria-based courses where the students can kind of pick and choose their way through the course. And so you'll see that on the left-hand side, you have the different units, which again are just your modules. So you set them up for either of these the same way you would set up your normal Canvas course. And then Delphinium pulls that information in. So you have your different modules down the left-hand side. You have your different course outcomes over the top. And for all of the assignments that you create, you attach a course outcome and it'll put them in the correct module and correct bucket. So it creates this matrix that the students can get through. And as they complete the different assignments that count for different outcomes, their little buckets fill for the course outcomes. And to keep a sort of pace for the semester, you add when the module or when the unit or next topic will end. And that way you can have a linear progression through the course without worrying that students are going to be, going back to unit 1 and those sorts of things. We also have our rewards, and so we have prize boxes that give sort of a visual animation when the student reaches a certain point threshold. We also have our avatar, so you start off with a pretty basic egg, eyes, and mouth, and as the students reach, again, those different point thresholds that you can set, they get to add different things. So they get to add different styles of ears or different accessories and those sorts of things. So generally, you'll have a dashboard that looks like this with some sort of course content map and some sort of trackers. So in this case, we've got the current grade thermometer. If you're looking at this as a student, you'll see the orange dot, which is you, but you won't be able to see who everyone else is in their blue dots. But you can see how you are progressing through the course. We also have the health bar that is kind of assignment percentage. And the last thing with the with the prize boxes on here is the leaderboard. And so this is something that allows the students, again, to see kind of a ranking system. This is anonymized, so you have pseudonyms that you can assign to the students at the beginning of the semester, and the student will know their own pseudonym, but not the other students. And so they'll be able to see where they are in the leaderboard. So, as we said, we had multiple perspectives and multiple people who were contributing to the design of these dashboards. And we had a 3-phase discussion and negotiation process that included most of the different branches of this project. And so we had the first step, which was the educator context step. And this was just the educator providing information about their class and where they thought gamification could provide some sort of motivational benefit. After that, the developer would present or provide a wide range of tools, but also the theory of change connected to each tool and each item so that the instructional designer could explain and allow the educator to envision how that might fit into their classroom. And lastly, the instructional designer would review the tools and try to align them with the student needs of the course and the instructor's needs within that course. So first, we have our researcher. So the researcher was the person who was over sort of the high-end project goals and making sure those meetings and negotiation facilitation were happening, but also ongoing research adjustments. So for example, one of the things our researcher said about this project was during the first iteration of the biology course, we were hoping to collect comparison data on 2 courses, one with the dashboard and one without. The technical issues that arose during this semester prevented us from using that data, but we did learn valuable lessons on how Delphinium could best be implemented. So going forward with the research and keeping those issues in mind, the researcher was able to sort of adjust things and make sure that we were set up to move forward efficiently. All right, and we have our educators. So obviously they were our content experts and the ones who had the perspective of what was going on in the classroom, the classroom needs assessment, but then also just ongoing course design. And this ended up being an important element as well because one of the instructors, for example, switched from weighted grading to points, as Delphinium actually uses points-based systems rather than weights. And so this professor said that they usually design the course with weights just because it's easier for them to adjust things within the middle of the semester without really having to think about or worry too much about the impact and the point distribution. But rethinking the course for Delphinium with these tools in mind allowed them to kind of see the course from the student's perspective. And in this case, thinking about how the students actually kind of had a little bit of trouble with weighted grading because they were so used to points-based grading in other classes. And so the instructor was able to make that adjustment. So the needs of our educators were different based on their different classes, obviously. So in our introductory geology class, that was a face-to-face course. And the professor's goal was to really help students make organizational sense of a large amount of assignments and kind of where they were in the overall course. And so we did this by providing features that really encouraged attendance and encouraged the completion of assignments. So you can see their dashboard elements, some of their dashboard elements here with the course content and the completion stars, but also the grade thermometer and their little individual avatar creator. Whereas for our introductory biology course, this was an online course. And so they were more focused on providing some increased interaction and increased engagement through rewards. So we have the same course content module map with the completion stars and the grade thermometer, but we also have the health bar in terms of their assignments and the percentage and how well they're doing there, and the leaderboard and prize boxes that they can interact with as well. So next we have our instructional designer, which is me, and I was in charge of really conversations around technology affordances. And so the overall dashboard design and making sure that the instructors knew all of the really awesome things that Delphinium could do, but also what the limits of the software were. I was also the point of contact and just ongoing support, sort of a technology to education bridge for the group. So in my role, we also kind of got a glimpse of what we needed to do to sort of reconfigure the team or rethink how the team was working, because it allowed us to see what permissions were needed to do certain things and to really implement Delphinium. And so at that point, I was a graduate student, and so I did not have full permission to make changes to different courses. And so we worked out how to make sure that I was able to best help the instructors and how we could work more effectively in our different roles in the group. So lastly, we have our developer. And so our developer was our software expert and was also over kind of ongoing software development. So in some cases where we had a specific need on the educational side of things, the developer was actually able to make small changes to Delphinium itself in order to meet those needs. And this also provided sort of a benefit to the developer because it gave them some real-time, real use cases in terms of what the instructors and professors need on the ground. And that in turn helped to continue developing the software. The developer also worked extensively with the instructional designer to address technical issues. So when instructors had technical issues come up, we were able to sort of work together as a team to get some creative problem solving done and make sure the instructor was satisfied with their experience with Delphinium. And also just to expand the gamification software to other classes. So our recommendations can be grouped into 3 major categories, which are assigning diverse roles, building bridges, and allowing for growth. In terms of our diverse roles, we had the team lead and the researcher. So keeping track of tasks, revisiting and adjusting those overall project goals, and organizing the regular meetings is so important. Our experts were our educators, and so they were the ones that gave us all of the context we needed to be able to effectively implement these things in class. And having this active role on the team showed a higher level of investment in the outcomes, but also a higher level of confidence when and if technical issues did arise. Lastly, we have our tech and design team, and these are the people who take care of that back-end development and front-end implementation. So bridges, we have multiple groupings of contact, educators with researchers, researchers with instructional designers, and so on. But we also just individually wore multiple hats. So making sure you have someone that can see those different perspectives and bring together the team, even though all of us have different goals, is really important. And lastly, allowing for flexibility and growth. So collaborative relationships should grow over time. The focus for our project was really meeting instructor needs in terms of instruction within the classroom and student motivational needs, but allowing this flexibility and growth really allowed for us to address different goals and interests of the researcher, the instructional designer, and the developer as well. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation. If you have questions, I have added our researcher's email, and you can also get in touch with me on Discord at Doc Malone. Thank you.